Hello everyone. I'm going to talk about Harry Dresden today. This is the first book in his series, Stormfront. And to get this out of the way first, this is a series that has a little bit of charges of sexism applied to it. However, it has gone to 17 books, and many of the people who will talk about these books on booktube are women themselves, and they seem to not mind that much, though they do bring it up. So I dove in. This is actually a reread for me. I read this many years ago and thought I would keep going with the series every so often, but I never did. But I'm going to now. So in this, he does describe women to you that you are seeing. He's your viewpoint. He's talking about everything in his head. And for example, the lieutenant that he's associated with in the police force, Karen Murphy, he describes her as short, stocky, a keto expert, and at one point referred to her as cute. But at the same time, he absolutely respects her. Actually really likes her, though maybe not romantically. Later on in the book, he has a moment where he has this head wound and he's delirious, and he tries to flirt with her and hit on her, which she just laughingly dismisses while she helps him out. And so going through this, I didn't see anything that made me cringe or feel too awkward about it. My comparison is this one. This is called Spell for Chameleon by Pierce Anthony. It's the only one of the Xanth novels I've ever read. And this too has big charges against it for sexism and misogyny. And I thought, well, let me give it a go, because I actually had a girlfriend a long time ago who loves these books. Well, near the beginning of this book, there is this rape trial. And there's not just the victim, there's two other people posing as victims, and a total of 3 people posing as perpetrator, so as to protect the identity of both, however the trial goes. It winds up with essentially dismissing her in shame, and you should have known better to say anything, go away. And it was horrible to read, and I don't even know why it was in there. It was like some side quest thing that they stuck in there, and it doesn't belong in there. Later on, the one woman character, I didn't know it at first. What she is she's 3 different people depending on the time of the month it is. And there's people that thought this was funny, and I had to have it explained to me. I didn't understand what was going on until after I read the book that was about her time of the month. And so with this as a comparison, I'm just not seeing it here as something horrifying. Admittedly, because I am a dude, I don't walk around the world in fear that someone's going to hurt me at any given moment. And so I have to allow for that, certainly. And so I could be overlooking the pros themselves. Well, this doesn't affect me. I don't know what's so bad about it. Still, there are women who review these, and they've read all the books. So I guess it's okay. And one of the reasons, too, that it's not so offensive, Harry Dresden himself is actually a very nice character. He's a very nice guy. He does get scared, but he's not a coward. He's actually very brave, and sort of has to be if you're going to be a wizard fighting off all kinds of horrible things like demons. He doesn't disrespect anyone, even the women he describes as pretty or whatever. He does seem to have a superhero's mentality about things, that he's really willing to just throw his life away. Not if he can avoid it. He wants to live, but if he has to throw it away, he has to throw it away to save people. So Harry, the author does something really nice here too. He kind of brings you into this world in a way, it's almost to say this is a little silly. So there he is with his office. It says Harry Dresden Wizard right on the door. So when the new mailman comes by, And he says, really? And he just doesn't believe it, and they're just stupid. And he goes about his business. So the Lieutenant Murphy, she does believe in him. She has a partner who doesn't. So there seems to be this idea, it's sort of like watching an episode of something like Ghost Hunter, where they're completely full of it, but in this world that would be real, but the general public thinks it's just garbage. Harry is the only wizard who has come to a public face and advertising himself as a detective. There does seem to be some large population of wizards and magic wizards out there, but they're not out in the public eye. There is, but it doesn't give you an idea of the size of the population. There is this white council of wizards who act as the police of the wizards, and Harry himself has an issue where, as a youngster, he was being trained, and the trainer tried to kill him, and in self-defense, he killed the trainer. But so even though it's in self-defense, they put a kind of a warning to him: we're going to be watching you closely now, because you are not supposed to kill using magic. And sure enough, he has someone who watches over from time to time, who is himself some magical being, carries a big magic sword, and who's ready and willing to kill him if he breaks some of the laws laid down by this White Council. So you have a limitation placed upon him, so he can't just go waltzing through like some overpowered magical juggernaut. He himself doesn't really want to be a powerful magical. Well, I guess he does. He certainly wants to, know his trade, but he's not power hungry. Like you said, he's basically a humble guy, without being a pushover. So Harry gets summoned by the police because there is a double homicide, and it seems to be of some kind of odd nature. And he goes and has a look. There is a mob boss involved. There is a woman who comes to his office and says, I have a missing person in the form of my husband. And so all your pieces are laid out there like an old noir detective novel. If you are paying attention, all the pieces are there. You can probably figure out who's doing what and who the villain is. It took me till about page 145, I remember noting to myself, I think I understand how all this connects. So it took me that long to kind of figure things out. And then it's just trudging forward from there to get to the end. Harry, he gets kind of, I want to say, dominated quite a bit person to person with people. And so it's like he's being held in check. And then finally, when all the pieces are laid out, when you get to the crux, and it explains to you, here's your bad guy, and here's why he's doing what he's doing. Now he's like, okay, I have to let loose. He's, however, been hurt. He doesn't have all his magic about him, so he's lost some magic artifacts that he can't take with him. So he goes in seemingly underpowered when he goes to deal with his nemesis here. In this moment too, I thought of this originally, and I think of it now still. John Constantine in DC Comics was a true horror comic. This really isn't that, though there is a taste of it when you get to this point where everything's laid out, and realize, this is a terrifying thing that this villain is up to, and who he's willing to sacrifice to get more power. Though it's mixed with this sort of bittersweet moment, which I won't spoil. And so off he goes. So he does joke at one point. He has like a Magnum PI moment. And I thought, I've seen it like every Magnum PI episode there is in the 80s. And in hindsight now, I get it, because the book kind of feels like this. It does have a sense of humor in it. There's this awfully, I don't even want to explain it to you to ruin it. It's just this awfully funny moment, having laughing out loud between him and Lieutenant Murphy. I'm doing my best not to picture him as Tom Selleck, and it helps that he doesn't have a mustache. That's supposed to be him there. He does have that coat that he wears right there. He does at some points carry that staff. The hat, though, Is he going to pick up the hat? He wasn't wearing a hat through this whole book, and every single one of these covers, he's got this hat on. He's got a hat on. So at some point I expect to see the hat. I'm wondering it may be been just a one-shot joke. All I'm going to say, completely out of context for you, there better be a confrontation with Saint Nick somewhere in here. I'm talking Santa Claus. Read it for yourself so you can figure that out. Did I miss anything I wanted to talk about? The table trust and White Council. Better meet Saint Nick, meet the police. That's about it. Completely aside from this, I don't know how long I'm gonna, I intend to read this next. This is the second book, and third and on until I get tired of it and maybe take a break and read something else. As a complete aside, although it involves these a little bit, I had this interesting coincidence where I rewatched the MCU movie Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and in that movie he gets a third eye on his head. In this book there is a drug that is being distributed to people which supposedly opens up their third eye and they can see magical things, and it drives them nuts. Harry himself can use a third eye. And then in One Piece, I'm in these chapters, I'm in 870 right now. There's this character has a third eye, and I thought that's three things with three eyes. And I expressed this to people, and they were like, well, it's like celebrities, the rule of three. And I go, well, if along with all this, if three celebrity dies in the next 3 days, I'm going to suspend my atheism for just a moment to freak out just a little bit. One Piece I've been reading since December. I'm at 870, like I said. I think it's 1150 something right now, so I still got a ways to go. I don't necessarily read every day, but I do try to get in a few chapters at a time when I do. What can I say about it? I was not a big Luffy fan, and he's the head of the Straw Hats and the lead character of One Piece, until he was heavily involved in a prison break, and all the inmates are freaking out. We gotta go over here, we gotta go over there. They're gonna get us, what are we gonna do? And in the middle of all this, he's just sitting there going, wow, look at the size of this big bloody booger I just picked out of my nose. And I couldn't stop laughing for a while, and I became a Luffy fan on the spot. The other thing that amuses me about One Piece is that they all have this trauma in their histories involving death a lot of the times. And it's deeply emotional, their backgrounds. And that's the motivation they have going through looking for this One Piece with Luffy. Except for one guy, Zoro, swordsman, the swordsman. He's trying to be the greatest swordsman in the world. Why? Because when he was young, a girl beat him in a sword fight. Yeah. I think that's hilarious. Still, for some reason, he's the one I root for most in fights. And I think maybe it's because if you just strip him down to his most basic components, he's like Wolverine from the X-Men. And I cheer for him just for that. Wearing Captain America today, a nice piece of artwork there, though. If you want to get into One Piece, knock yourself out. It's taken me a long time to get as far as I had. I'm probably going to take a full year to get caught up with everybody else. There is a cartoon to watch, but it's going to take a long time to get through that because they also add in filler episodes. There is one live action season, which you can see on Netflix, which is actually pretty good. They are redoing the animation, though, because from what I understand, they're going to strip out all the fat, update the cartoon itself, and maybe that'll be a little easier for people to get through, 20, 30-minute episodes, that kind of thing. That's coming out next year, I think, so not a bad way to jump into One Piece, I guess, and get caught up with everybody. That's about it. I don't think I have much of anything else. I don't have a lot of manga experience, a lot of Japanese entertainment experience throughout my life, but not I've only ever read something called Manga, which I didn't even finish. One Piece now, which I am enjoying quite a bit, and Blame, which I'm getting into right now, and that's it for me in manga. So we'll see if I can. I got a whole thing on Viz Media for $3 a month, and reading. I can read any manga I want, but I haven't indulged yet. So tiptoeing into the world of manga. That's about it. Next video will indeed be full moon. Maybe I'll talk a little more spoiler. Maybe I won't. We'll see. Thank you very much. Have a good week. See you next time. Bye bye now.